Welcome, everybody, to the Franco-Nevada annual meeting. This is a combined in-person meeting. I'm so delighted to see so many people turn out. We were having our meetings today, and some of our directors were suggesting we just do virtual meetings. It's so much easier. But I think it's the one-on-one impact is very important, and I'm just delighted that so many of you came out in person today. So I'd like to welcome you to the 2023 annual and special meeting of the shareholders of Franco-Nevada. My name is David Harkwell, and as chair of the board of directors of the company, I will chair the formal portion of this meeting. And following that, Paul Brink, our president and chief executive officer, will provide some remarks and take your questions. Thank you for joining us today, and also by webcast or by person, and for sending in your proxies. What I'd like to do first is introduce the head table. And so I have seating immediately on my left here, Paul Brink. After him is Sandip Rana, our chief financial officer. And after that is Lloyd Hong, our chief legal officer and corporate secretary. I'd like to also introduce some other members of our leadership team. Ian Gray, standing right over there, and Jason O'Connell, also right next to him. All of our directors are present today that are being nominated for election today. And so apart from Paul and myself, I'd like to introduce the other directors, and I'll ask them to each stand as I say their names. Tom Albanese, Derek Evans, Dr. Catherine Farrell, Maureen Jensen, Jennifer Mackey, Randall Oliphant, and Jacques Perron, our newest director. Franco's celebrating 15 complete years in terms of filing full financial statements since our IPO in 2017. And we've been carefully renewing both the board and the executive team while trying to preserve the culture and DNA of the company. Last year, I regretted very much, but had to speak about Graham Farquharson, who passed away. He'd been a long-term director and part of the original IPO team of the board of directors of this company. And this year, we also accepted the retirement of two other directors, Louis Gignac, who was part of our original IPO along with Graham, and he was a personal friend. He was his advice and counsel was tremendous, and I think he was played a big part in the success of our company. And also Elliot Pugh, who was a more recent director. He was with us approximately 3 years, and he was part of our oil and gas efforts, especially in the U.S. And his counsel and advice was tremendous, especially in a number of the newer gas deals that we did in the U.S. that were very successful, and also his counsel both on governance and strategic aspects in terms of the broader things of aspects of what the company was looking at was also very appreciated and had a profound impact on the company. So we're gaining some, we're losing some. It's part of the renewal process. I think one of the aspects of what the board's trying to do is make sure we preserve the DNA that's made this company successful, and I'm confident we can manage that. We'll now move to the formal part of the meeting. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask Lloyd Hong to act as the secretary of the meeting, and Kirsch Sino and Shirley Tom as representatives of Computershare to act as scrutineers. The scrutineers will report on the number of shares represented at this meeting or by proxy. Proof of service of the notice calling the meeting has been filed. I direct that a copy of this notice and affidavit proving service thereof be annexed to the minutes of this meeting. I have been advised there is a quorum, and I request that the scrutineer's report be annexed to the minutes of the meeting. And I believe we've had one of the highest turnouts voted in the history of the company, and remarkable actually for a lot of companies. I think in excess of 83% of the votes have been cast for this meeting. And so I'm very pleased by that. It's a remarkable number. I declare this meeting to be regularly called and properly constituted for the transaction of business. And now I'll ask that our Chief Legal Counsel, Mr. Hong, provide the details on the logistics for this meeting because they're too complicated for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As mentioned, this will be a hybrid meeting, allowing both in-person and virtual participation. Please bear with us if any technical issues come up. Here are a few logistics for the meeting. If you're on the webcast, detailed instructions are displayed on how to vote, ask questions, and get technical assistance if necessary. If you require technical assistance with your electronic voting device, representatives from Lumi are available at the registration table to assist. If you're on the phone line, please note that you cannot vote or ask questions. We will conduct the votes on the matters before us by poll. On a poll, every shareholder entitled to vote on the matter has one vote in respect of each share held by that shareholder. I would now ask Lumi to open the polls for voting on all matters of business for this meeting and keep the polls open until after all of the items have been presented and the chairman has asked for the polls to be closed. For those shareholders present in person, you should have been provided with an electronic voting device or a ballot form if you registered with the scrutineers on your arrival. If you are a registered holder or a duly appointed proxy holder and have not received an electronic voting device or ballot form, please go to the registration desk and one will be provided to you. As the polls are now open, you are able to cast your vote on all items of business until the chairman closes the polls at the end of the meeting. You do not need to wait for each specific item of business to vote and are free to vote at any time. Moving on to questions. For those here in person who have any questions on the items of business, please raise your hand at the appropriate time and a microphone will be brought to you. If you are participating on the webcast and have any questions on the items of business, please type in your question or comment in the messaging section of the Lumi platform in advance, as there is a delay between the live meeting and the webcast, and I will read the question aloud. We will take applicable questions after each item of business. If your questions are more general in nature, we would ask that you please wait until the formal business of the meeting has been concluded, as we will have a Q&A session afterwards. After all the matters of business have been presented and the voting has been closed, Computershare will tabulate the results and the chairman will report them to the meeting. Mr. Chairman, back to you.
Thank you, Lloyd. I'm very happy you did that instead of me. So the financial statements, we'll move. The first matter of business is to confirm the receipt of the financial statements in the auditor's report. The consolidated financial statements of the company and its subsidiaries for the year ended December 31st, 2022, and the reports of the directors and auditors thereon have been mailed to all shareholders who requested them, together with a notice of meeting. The financial statements are also available on our website, and you can request paper copies by phone or by email. The next matter of business is the election of directors. The nominees of management of the company were identified in the information circular mailed to each shareholder of the company. I introduced the directors to you earlier and had them stand. Will someone please nominate the directors? 9 directors are required to be nominated.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Ian Gray, and I'm a shareholder of the company. I nominate David Harquail, Paul Brink, Tom Albanese, Derek Evans, Dr. Catherine Farrow, Maureen Jensen, Jennifer Mackey, Randall Oliphant, and Jacques Perron.
Thank you, Ian. And could I have a second?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Phil Wilson, and I'm a shareholder of the company, and I second the nominations.
Thank you, Phil. Are there any questions from the floor? There are no questions. Are there any questions from the webcast?
There are no questions.
So I declare the nominations closed. The next item of business is the appointment of auditors. Will someone please move a resolution for the appointment of auditors and to authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of such auditors?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Jason O'Connell and I'm a shareholder of the company. I move the PricewaterhouseCoopers LLP Chartered Accountants be appointed auditors of the company until the next annual meeting at such remuneration as may be fixed by the directors of the company, the directors being hereby authorized to fix such remuneration.
Thank you. And could I have a second?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Christian Thatcher and I'm a shareholder of the company. I second the motion.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the floor? Seeing none, and are there any questions from the webcast?
There are no questions.
The next matter of business is the Say on Pay advisory resolution. Since the vote is advisory, it will not be binding on the board. However, the board will consider the outcome of the vote as part of its ongoing review of executive compensation matters. Will someone please move a resolution for the Say on Pay advisory resolution?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Candida Hayden, and I'm a shareholder of the company. I move that on an advisory basis, and not to diminish the role and responsibilities of the board of directors of the company, their shareholders accept the approach to executive compensation as disclosed in the company's Management Information Circular dated March 17, 2023.
Thank you, Candida. And could I have a seconder?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Adrian Wong, and I'm a shareholder of the company, and I second the motion.
Thank you, Adrian. Are there any questions from the floor? Any questions from the webcast?
No.
That was the final item of formal business for this meeting. If you're not yet voted on the motions that have been tabled, I'll ask you to now complete your voting. We'll pause briefly for final votes to come in, and I'll let Lloyd wave to me when I can proceed. So I guess I declare the voting's closed and ask the polls to be closed. For those using physical ballots, please raise your hands. I see none, and so there's nothing to collect. Do I need an additional pause?
Okay, go ahead.
I think since 83% of the votes came in already, there's not much left to collect. Are there any other items of business that any shareholders in attendance would like to raise? Is there anything on the webcast?
There's nothing from the webcast.
The formal business of the meeting has been completed. We have received the preliminary results and declare that each of the motions in this meeting have been carried by no less than 92% of the votes, including the election of directors. I declare the persons nominated have been duly elected as directors of Franco-Nevada. Congratulations. The final results of the meeting will be reported on SEDAR by tomorrow. The formal part of the meeting is now concluded.